All right. Hi, everybody. We've got Tianna Hawkins here. If you have a question for her, go ahead and raise your hand. I'll call on you. Raphael Haynes, we'll start with you. Go ahead.
Hey, Tiana. Raphael Haynes from the 3-Point Conversion. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. Tiana, how has training camp been so far? Adjusting different from last year, just as a whole, with the bubble and everything. How have you adjusted and adapted to training camp this year?
I mean, it feels good to be back in a real gym and not in a bubble. But training camp so far has been going well. Just learning so many different players and just learning my teammates. It's been pretty cool so far.
Spencer Nussbaum, go ahead.
Sure. Coach has talked a lot so far about your leadership and basketball IQ, even though, you've only been there for about a week. Could you just kind of walk us through, how you put your leadership into action to the point where, even on day one, coach is already talking about it?
I mean, I think just having I take pride in having, a certain level of professionalism, and just if I see areas where I can speak up, I use that time to speak up, and just giving great encouragement to the young players and also players that were already here, and just using my voice in a way that it would be positive and it would make our team better.
Spencer, we'll go back to you. Go ahead.
Sure. And obviously now that you've had some time to adjust and kind of figure out what the team's looking like, again, it's still pretty early, but could you just give us what your expectations are, from this point?
My expectations, we're going to be a very tough team. I mean, I would hate for the team that has to play us on any given night because there's just so many different weapons that we have offensively, defensively. We're tough. It's just some small things that we're trying to fine tune in practice, but we all know that we want to win, we want to compete, and we want to score. But that was no surprise, when I signed here in Atlanta. There's so many scores on the team. So it's just right now just trying to figure out how we can, get everybody shots and how we can play together.
And we're a little short on time, so we'll go back to Raphael Haynes for the last question. Go ahead.
Hey, Tiana, you played in Seattle your rookie year and then in Washington for the remainder. Now you're here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Going to a different team, when, like you said, you're learning your players, learning the playbook, does it feel like the first day of WNBA for you when dealing with?
Not really. It wasn't really like the first day. I think the biggest thing for you, when you're going to a new team, coming from a team that you spent so much time with, is just figuring out and, seeing where you can fit in. What are the things that you can bring, to the team that will help the team be better. And that's just something that I'm focusing on, finding the little things that I could bring from my past experience, down here in Atlanta.
All right. Thanks, T.
All right. Thank you.
All right. We've got head coach Nicki Collen here. If you have a question for her, go ahead and raise your hand. I'll call on you. Spencer Nussbaum, we'll start with you. Go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Just starting off, how are you feeling after the tornado?
Well, it just got, I don't know what happened with the tornado other than our practice started a little late because we were going to start film and decided to, relocate to the basement here. So we had a very safe spot here at Agnes Scott.
That's good to hear. Now, I guess for more of a basketball question, if you could kind of just talk about what you've seen so far on the defensive side of the ball in training camp, and how much of your scheme have you had to overhaul now that you've brought in, so many new players?
Yeah, our schemes haven't changed. Our base hasn't changed. Who we are hasn't changed. I think that the beauty of our group is that we have a couple of veterans in Odyssey and Tiana that are good communicators defensively, that are active defensively. And, the combination of the players we've added with Aerie and Odyssey at the point of attack makes us really good. I feel like Courtney's getting in good shape and, is a little more physical than she was in the bubble coming off of COVID last year. So we've just been pretty good at the point of attack. So, even from the scrimmage to practice, things like that, I think our aggressiveness on the ball can make a big difference, and I think that could be a difference between, good and great defensively.
Raphael Haynes, go ahead.
Hey, Coach Nicki, wanted to ask you, you've always been asked, you've been asked so many times during this training camp, what do you think of your players? How do you feel about their play? But I wanted to ask you, being here this is your 4th year now, transition so many players going in and out. What have you learned about yourself as a coach during this time?
Good question. I think I'm still growing. I think if you're not, you're going to become a dinosaur pretty quickly anyway. I think a lot of the concepts and beliefs that I haven't changed, but how we implement them at time changes, how we coach them, how we challenge them, doing a better job of, even when we're getting in drills of getting to live action, so that we compete more in practice. It's just so nice to be back in the gym as opposed to at IMG last year, and have a full roster and be able to have, as long a practice as we want to get extra shots up, extra individual work. Because a year ago, it wasn't a real season. I proud that the WNBA was able to pull it off and we got something done. But it wasn't a real season. It wasn't not real coaching, but it was just really different. And so, sometimes it's learning how to say the same thing a different way, because not everybody hears the message the same way. So, I think that's the biggest goal, just continue to push our players to learn how to play with pace, to play effectively with pace, has been a big goal since we've been here.
I have a question in the chat from Michelle Vogel. Coach, if there's one thing that you've identified as your biggest concern entering the season and one thing that you see as the biggest strength, what are those?
I think the biggest concern is rebounding. We were dead last in the league in defensive rebounding a year ago. We have to do a better job of gang rebounding. We need all 5 players engaged. We just don't have one player that swallows up all the defensive rebounds. So the ability of a Courtney Williams, of an Odyssey Sims, of a Kennedy Carter to run down loose balls and to mix it up in the lane is really, really important for us because we can't run without the basketball. And if we're going to play some small ball or smaller ball, we're not that small, then we have to rebound. So I would say that's probably the biggest area of concern and growth and it showed even again in our scrimmage. We didn't always look great on the glass. We've got to hit and go and gang rebound. The strength of this team is the speed and the ability to put pressure on the defense in a multitude of ways. Courtney off the bounce, Kennedy off the bounce, Odyssey off the bounce, Ari off the bounce, and then the ability to space, with our bigs now. And today was a great practice because we really smoothly moved from one action to the next. And I think that's a big part, for this team of the ball not getting stuck on one side. We certainly have creative players, but, playing within that team system, pushing early, getting into early actions, swinging it, getting into second actions, and not letting the ball stick. So, I think we've got a lot of guards that can create a lot of good shots for our team.
Back to Spencer Nussbaum. Go ahead, Spencer.
Yeah, I know it's easy to talk about building team chemistry and good culture kind of as broader concepts, but basically every player who's come through here has really talked about, the culture in Atlanta and what you guys have started to build. I'm curious if you could give us some insight into what establishing a culture actually looks like in training camp from your perspective and which players are, sort of helping to lead that.
Yeah, I think it starts with I think we have a staff that believes in family. We're all family people. We all have kids. We all are close, and it's creating a family environment. And I've always said, for me personally, players don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so it's about caring about them. It's about, because I think that allows you to challenge them. It allows you to coach them. It allows you to criticize them. And, but ultimately our culture is positive. It's positive, but there's an accountability to that. There's a discipline to that. We're not letting them do whatever they want. But we want them to have great joy when they play. We want them to be themselves. We want them to have fun. Yes, this is a job, but it's a game. They get to play a game for a living, so they should enjoy it. And so it's about competing, but it's about having joy when you compete. So I would say, that begins in training camp. That begins with how we drill. It begins with how we celebrate, how we point at each other when we make a basket or make a good pass. And so, that's how we build culture.
Jamila Johnson, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, thank you for your time. I'm just wondering, for Saturday's game, did that at all influence what you guys did today in training camp? And if so, how?
That's the loud team in the background who just got done lifting weights. Yes, it very much influenced today. So we felt like our weaknesses in the scrimmage were, at times our pace was good and at times it wasn't good. So focusing on consistent pace, playing fast all the time, never walking the ball up the court, even if it's a dead ball, creating energy off the bounce early in a possession, getting all 5 people running in transition, not taking plays off. So, that was one priority. The other thing was defensive rebounding. So we did defensive rebounding drills and then we did defensive transition drills. And so that works on us in offensive transition where we're talking about pace. It helps us in defensive transition, communicate, get back, get matched up, really get our feet organized. So those were kind of the keys today: pace, defensive rebounding, and defensive transition.
Sorry about our super loud team there. Kenya Hurd, we'll go to you. Go ahead.
Hi, Coach. It's Kenya from Made from the W. I am from Atlanta, so I'm definitely wondering, what are you looking for this year for the Atlanta Dream? What's your vision? What's going to happen? Are we going to win a championship? Because I'm excited.
Well, I mean, we don't make promises of championships around here, but I mean, there's 12 teams in this league. Everybody's goal going into a season should be to win a championship, to compete for a championship. And, I think we're a team that, wants to work our way back to the playoffs, and prove that we're a playoff team. I think we were a fringe playoff team a year ago. And just, the season ran out on us. We finally had people healthy and we're semi full strength, even though we had opt-outs, and so, I think it's kind of proving people wrong. I think people know we have talent, but I don't necessarily think, we're going to be in anybody's top 4 or 5 in terms of predictions in this league. So, it's about playing with a chip. It's about having fun as we play. It's about proving people wrong and, just enjoying being back at Gateway, enjoying being back in front of fans and quite frankly, entertaining them. I mean, our players love to entertain. And so that's what I would say about, for Atlanta fans is come. I think you're going to be entertained.
Raphael Haynes, back to you.
After watching the film on Saturday, were you able to get more in depth as far as how your team played together with the new acquisitions, the rookies and the players that's been here?
Yeah, I mean, some things like, we were intentional about not playing certain players too much. And so, and obviously veterans in this league, if you play them hard early and then you sit them for a while, to take a look at players that are trying to make your roster and get a better look at them, then oftentimes, you're not going to go back to those vets because once their bodies have cooled down, you don't want to risk injury in that situation. And so, I think that there were things we saw. I think there were ways that we challenged them. There were even, being able to dial up a play in a timeout and come out and execute. That's really important. I had 2 rookies in, at the time, and they executed. We got a back screen for a 3-point play. So, you're looking at all those things. And, I was pleased with Ari. I mean, she's going to have to learn to play around people. She's small. She can't play over people with the pass. She's got to, throw the early pocket pass at times. She's got to bounce it out, and she'll learn that. She needs to play in this situation as athletic, quick, and as high as she jumps. She's not going to throw over the top of Sylvia Fowles very often. So, you know, you learn those things and players need to see that so it can be reinforced. So, you know, I mean, did I like certain combinations together? Sure. You know, as much as anything, I liked seeing them play with pace. So, you know, we played the players more that were playing with pace.
And last question, we'll go back to Spencer Nussbaum. Go ahead, Spencer.
Again, I think, as you know, we weren't actually able to watch the scrimmage yesterday. So could you maybe just tell us one moment from yesterday that caught your eye that really made you say, okay, I'm excited about the direction of this team. I'm excited where this team is going.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that, you know, I would say it was the combination of, you know, actions where we were really good defensively in our rotations, in our communication, being able to help at the nail and play back out and get to shooters and really pressure the basketball. I mean, we harassed them at the point of attack and we're able to get easy buckets in transition. You know, and I thought our fours rim ran really well. Mo really rim ran. Tiana got out in transition. Even Kalani got a basket, you know, on a rim run in transition. So, you know, if we can consistently have rim runners and pressure at the point of attack, whether it's ball screen or isolation or whatever, you know, I think, you know, we can really compete, you know, but it's going to start for us. It's going to begin and end with how good is our ball pressure.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome.